Welcome to the Productivityist Podcast. I'm Mike Vardy, and we're inching ever closer to the tail end of my year. I start my year in September, and then in July and August, as those months are fast approaching, that's normally when I focus on things like, self-care and planning, because my kids have been in school for, the entire year, and they're now finishing up. And, I've been able to kind of put myself in a position to have that time off. 2020, the calendar year 2020, has been different. I haven't had the same kind of opportunities, much like everyone else, especially those that have kids, because the year has been pretty much an anomaly since March of this year, so of 2020. So what does that mean for my summer? Well, a post I wrote a long time ago called How to Face and Avoid the Summertime Slide kind of goes away in a situation like this, because the summertime slide may have been already happening for an extended period of time for you. But there's more to it than that, because when I think about the way that I kind of wrap up my year, is two very distinct days show up before my kids are normally done school, and then one almost immediately after my kids are done school shows up, and they all kind of are related to my own personal productivity and, how I engage or relate with the tasks and projects I want to work on. Let's talk about the first one, which is World Productivity Day. Now, interestingly enough, this year, I made the mistake of saying that World Productivity Day was on the first day of summer, which was the 20th. Now, if I was to look up World Productivity Day, it generally falls on the first, on the 20th of June, because it ultimately, it falls on the longest day of the year, right, where the most daylight hours are, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. That said, it's not the first day of summer. The first day of summer is the 21st. So, that was where I had a bit of a misnomer. I was on a podcast and I talked about this and realized my error after the fact. But I've always found it interesting that World Productivity Day is in June. This year was on a Saturday too. And I had big plans for that this year. I had ideas, much like last year. Last year, there was one thing. This year, it's a completely different thing that prevented me from doing it. And here's the thing, is that obviously I didn't place enough of a priority on it, because it would have been done. So it wasn't. So I did a live stream on the 20th. And if you were productive on the 20th of which, of course, was yesterday, then, as of this recording at least, then you're going to be in a good stead going into those summer months in the Northern Hemisphere. If not, well, again, you can kind of start the year you want anytime you want. I wrote an entire book about that. But World Productivity Day for me in 2020 was not what I wanted it to be. My book did not come out the week that I was supposed to have it come out, which was the week of World Productivity Week. I did not have the plan set in motion for World Productivity Day that I normally would have. And I can sit back, and I've thought about this, and I can blame the calendar or the situation or whatever. But ultimately, I didn't plan. I didn't put this in motion. And so I just have to let it go. The good news is that World Productivity Day shows up again next year, and I felt this way last year. I'm feeling it again this year. So if anything, the idea of World Productivity Day has not escaped me. I know that it's something I want to do. It goes on my calendar every year. I just need to make sure in 2021 that I do something with it, regardless of the situation, because clearly any kind of circumstances can show up. Now, that's not to say I wasn't productive yesterday. I did a different kind of thing in terms of productivity. I worked on the garden. I built some stuff outside. I built a lawnmower shed for my daughter, or at least got the structural elements of that down. So it wasn't like I didn't do anything on that day. I just didn't have the wheels set in motion for some kind of productivityist event on that day. And that'll change for 2021. But that leads to the next situation, which is today. So today is Father's Day. And to me, that day didn't really have a ton of personal meaning to me, other than obviously to celebrate, my own father, until my daughter was born. The very daughter who helps me with show notes every week on this podcast, but there's so much more to it than that. Once my daughter was born, Father's Day took on a whole new meaning. And I found it interesting that it was the day after World Productivity Day, because I think the stuff I did on World Productivity Day better connected with my family. The elements that I took care of on that day were family oriented and not necessarily work oriented or terribly personal. And I've spent a lot of time this year with my kids in the same space as them because of the nature of what's been going on. And so when I think about that, and I think about a day to celebrate fatherhood, I think that for me it just serves not so much as a celebration, but as a reminder. The idea of, okay, I'm a dad. I know I'm a dad, and it's pretty wonderful to be one. But I need to make sure that I'm a dad constantly. It's my number one job. And I don't know whether or not when a situation such as the season that we're in right now comes up, whether or not the idea of fatherhood, whether I'm able to put my best foot forward consistently when everyone is home all the time. I haven't had that kind of scenario since my son was home with me and wasn't going to school. And we're talking 5 years ago at this point, almost 6 now. But it gave me pause. Like, I spent a lot of time on Saturday working on stuff for like building and growing and doing things outside of what I would never have considered doing years prior. And I'm sure that you're listening thinking the same thing. There's things you're doing now that you never thought you would have done before. And then I spent today just kind of contemplating on what that meaning of being a father is, what fatherhood in conjunction with productivity means to me, being a productive parent. And doing things like getting on a trampoline and playing with my, that kind of thing. Because that's something that happened. We picked up a trampoline. We literally rolled a trampoline down the street to bring it home for my son. And I also find it fascinating that on Father's Day, the father, I used to be like, I want to be able to do stuff on my own. This year, I didn't want to do that. I mean, I should have, but I didn't. I wanted to spend time with my family and stuff. Everyone was here. So this may seem like a muddled mess right now, and that's okay. I've been spending a lot of time thinking, contemplating. I'm wearing a shirt right now, which I've worn all day. That says mornings are for coffee and contemplation, which is a line from the show Stranger Things. And I've been doing a lot of contemplation lately, a lot. My focus has been on optimizing and maintaining, more maintaining than optimizing. I have been doing a lot of creating, but I'm feeling that I'm on the verge of getting back into that because things are, I'm not going to say getting back to normal, but there's some normalization happening here. And I think when stability shows up and things settle, that it gives you the opportunity to sneak something in. I think that's what I'm looking to do, is sneak something in. And I think you can do the same. If you're feeling overwhelmed by everything that's going on and constant change, if there's a lull, you have a choice. And I think it's okay to make either choice, albeit not constantly making that choice, to constantly say, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to take a break. It's kind of like when you're watching a boxing match and, the boxers are kind of, jockeying for position. And one guy throws a punch and the other guy doesn't do anything, and then all of a sudden they look for their spot and they throw a jab or something like that. I think that's kind of the way you have to look at this, is and it's those monumental moments, those landmark days, things like World Productivity Day, things like Father's Day, and then the one I'm going to talk about after the break. Those are moments where you have a bit more heightened awareness, maybe a bit more clarity. I would say definitely actually more clarity. And then, of course, the saying clarity affords focus, then you have more focus. So I think that for me right now, and I know I'm not alone in this, but there's some openings showing up where I can throw a punch in there. And I'm looking forward to starting to do that in the weeks ahead. I've got a week before the next monumental landmark day. And I think that week is going to be the week that's about to start, or the week that has started. If you're like me and you start your week on a Sunday, I think that's the week where the table can be set for the next 2 months, because the next 2 months for me are going to be all they're not going to be very different than what I would normally do. July, I normally take care of myself. I theme it as self-care. And then August, I theme as planning. So I think that it's almost like I can get back to a level set. I can get my footing again, and then throw a couple of things out there that, that I wouldn't otherwise do, at least not in the current climate. But I used to do all the time. But I want to talk a little bit about getting the next monumental day. And I want to talk a little bit about where I've, just like when you're throwing a punch, sometimes something throws a punch at you and you fall down, where I've fallen down a bit and how I plan to get back up.
Meal planning is important because it prevents us from being a disappointed wreck when dinner time comes around and we have no clue what to make, or even if we have the ingredients to make the meal. It's a time and a money saver, but most importantly, it frees up valuable brain space. Creating a meal plan prepares us for the week to come and gives us peace of mind that we're organized and can feed ourselves and our family. That's why I do it, and that's why Plan to Eat helps me do it. Your subscription includes access to the Plan to Eat website and fully featured mobile apps on iOS and Android. And Plan to Eat gives you the tools to clip and organize recipes from any website, the ones your family loves and that fit your dietary preferences and needs. And you can create a meal plan around your schedule. Then what happens is the Plan to Eat software automatically creates an organized shopping list based on your plan. So sign up for your free trial at plantoeat.com/timecrafting. That's plantoeat.com/timecrafting. The coupon will be automatically applied to your account and can be used when you're ready to subscribe. It's valid for new customers only. Give Plan to Eat a try today.
But first, I want to talk about the UCI division of continuing education. So the current climate, which I've been talking about, there's really never a better time when you have those moments, those spots where you want to take things to the next level. This UCI division of continuing education can give you that opportunity through convenient quality online education. And they're not new to this either. So you're not going into something that, into an organization that has no experience with it. They've been providing students with quality online courses for years. They were established in 1962, and they've been offering education for adult learners in Orange County and for over half a century, but they also maintain over 30,000 enrollments from students worldwide each year. And they offer hundreds of exciting courses and programs to local, regional, and global constituencies. Online courses through UCI Division of Continuing Education are taught by expert instructors, and they have industry experience, which is key. They also offer the flexibility that you need, and they offer a real immersive online classroom experience. And so if you're a busy working adult, or you're trying to do what I'm doing and maintain things and are looking to level up as you can take classes on your own time, which is, I think that's the key right now, right? I think that's the key anytime. If you can have that flexibility to take classes whenever you want, the UCI Division of Continuing Education has that capability for you. Now, there are courses and certifications in a wide range of categories. So there's business, there's leadership, there's human resources, IT, project management, plenty of them. And there's over 60 convenient certificates and specialized studies programs that are on campus as well as online for those of you that are able to go on campus. But right now, online is the focus, obviously, and they're designed for the working professional. So what certificate programs do is they offer an in-depth body of knowledge to ensure that you gain mastery of a particular topic, whereas specialized studies, they feature shorter, more concentrated curricula. And so if you're short on time, that's where you may want to look at specialized studies programs. Both are distinctive achievements that can help prepare you for career advancement or transition, and you can advance your career in as little as 6 months. So what I want you to do is I want you to give the UCI Division of Continuing Education a try. Now, enrollment is open now for the summer quarter, and some of the courses have already began. They began as early as June 22nd. So if you're interested in learning more about UCI, but cost is a concern, then they have scholarship options for those that qualify. So here's what I want you to do. Visit ce.uci.edu/productivityist. That's ce.uci.edu/productivityist. Then enter the promo code TIMECRAFTING and you'll get 15% off of one course. Now, this offer is only valid until July 31st, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. And the discount is for almost all of the certificate programs. There are some exceptions, and those include coding boot camps, international programs, teacher credentialing programs, and test prep courses. So don't delay. Fill those gaps with some knowledge and help you level up your skill set and take your career and your knowledge to the next level. Visit ce.uci.edu/productivityist and then enter the promo code TIMECRAFTING. You'll get that 15% off of one course. Do it today. You won't regret it. And I really want to thank the UCI Division of Continuing Education for sponsoring this episode of the Productivityist podcast. Now, I've learned a lot about this particular time of year. For me, there's that World Productivity Day piece. There's the Father's Day piece, but then a week gap is in there, and then all of a sudden the summer flood happens where there's event after event after event. Normally they're like vacation events and things like that, but the first big event for me is my birthday. So July 3rd is my birthday. So within 2 weeks of Father's Day, I turn a year older. So my year in age actually like increases. So even though I start my year in September, July 3rd is kind of like the beginning of what would be another year in the life of Mike Vardy. And I had big plans for this year, and about halfway through they got derailed, maybe about 2/3 of the way through. And I've always said that I don't want the year that just went by to be the same as the year, to come. And that's definitely the case for this year. I then have another 2-month gap before I officially start my year. So I always look at as my birthday, and I talk about this when it comes to taking a clarity day, that use like a milestone date. So the birthday is a good one, or around your birthday if you can't do it on your birthday. And what I like about this at this juncture is that I'm going to be able to take some time to get clear and focus on what I want the months ahead to look like. Now, I don't need to plan necessarily. I can just lay the groundwork. I mean, I tore up my vision board from 2020. I actually did a YouTube video about it. And now I'm going to do a revision board, which basically will take me through until the end of the calendar year. So basically 6 months, the 6 months remaining in the year. Because most people think, oh, June's the midway point. No, July 1st is kind of like, that's the main, you've gone through 6 months, the next 6 months start in July. So all of these milestone or monumental dates happen, kind of in a very quick sequence. And I would say over that 3-week period that I really start to contemplate deeper. This is not new to this year, by the way. I always tend to do this to a degree, but this year specifically because I feel like, the past few months have been such a letdown. Again, no book launch. The inability to travel and see some of my friends that are south of the border. And I cannot stress that I don't know when I'll be able to go south of the border or when I'll be willing to go south of the border, the Canada-U.S. border. But I think that the key for me, and I'm speaking about this for you to look at as well, because we are coming into what would traditionally be a slow period for many of us in the Northern Hemisphere. Don't know what's going to be the same this time around, but this is the time to pause and reflect and figure out what's working and what isn't, and what to fix and what to forego, what to maybe realign purpose and work through processes, like all of these things that are fundamental to productivity. This 3-week period, I just tend to lean into them a bit more. And that means things like should I go back to looking at apps is something that's come to mind. More YouTube videos. I'm getting a lot of requests for that. Looking at what I can do with the podcast. I've got podcast episodes as of this recording, interview-based podcast. So the Wednesday podcast, I have interviews recorded all the way through until the end of October. So I'm good for a while there. As so much so that I've actually postponed any further interviews until at least September. So with that in mind, it almost seems prudent that every time around this time of year, I try to book a clarity day, or I do book one, or I look to book one, and I've decided that after thinking about this yesterday and thinking on it more today, that a clarity day is exactly what I need, and I'm gonna share with you the results of the clarity day in the next week's episode, because it's going to happen during this week-long lull that I have here. And there's a reason for that. Number one, my son is still in school, so I'll be able to actually take the clarity day with him not being home. So there's 6 hours where he won't be saying, hey, what's dad doing? Because normally I would go somewhere to do that. I would not be at home just so I can remove myself from a common environment. Can't really do that right now. It's not really a responsible thing to do. It's not an essential thing to do. So I'm doing it here in my office. So I think that knowing, and by the way, I would normally plan this way further out. Like it'd be 3 weeks and I'd set the table. I'm not going to have that opportunity this time because of the nature of two things. Number one, the schedule that my kids are on and my wife and all that stuff. But number two, I can't afford to wait. I cannot afford to wait any longer to get clear. And I think this is an important realization for anyone. When you're feeling overwhelmed, regardless of the system you use, whether you're time crafting, using getting things done, traction, whatever you're using, there will always be a point where, not a breaking point, but a boiling point. And I've reached that with my own commitments, obligations, what have you. Time crafting helps, definitely. But without having a clear path for where I want to give my attention and carving out new attention paths, all I'm doing is checking off boxes. Yes, I'm checking off better boxes than I would be if I didn't have this framework in place, but it still doesn't feel right. And so a clarity day is exactly what's needed. And I haven't taken one in a long time. I can't, in fact, I would bet the last time I took one would have been in February of, no, it would have been if you count my planning day, late August of last year, so almost a year. I usually take one around Groundhog Day, February, but I didn't do that this year. Probably because there were so many other things going on. I know I had the big ready coming up. There was a lot of different things going on. But I want to get clear. And the interesting thing is taking one day to do that, even if it's a weekend day. Because if you can't feel that you can do it during a weekday, then a weekend day. I have the luxury of being able to do it. Frankly, so do you. I mean, time is more fluid than we've had in a long time, and you can take 4 hours or divide it up over a couple of days. I prefer to do it all in one day and just immerse myself. But that's what I'm going to do. And I think that once that has been taken care of, the rest of the dominoes will start to fall. The rest of the table will start to set. The score will take care of itself. And what the end result will be is me doing less stuff, guaranteed. But all that less stuff, I'll be doing better. And that means getting through emails faster than I have in the past, because I'm emailing people personally right now. I'm still catching up on emails. Even with my 3-mail system. I mean, I am now officially overwhelmed with email, which I haven't been in a while. Figuring out the stuff relating to a whole bunch of other initiatives, which I'm not going to get into here, because some of the initiatives will still exist when this is done, and others will not. But I think that ultimately, the day in between these two monumental days, World Productivity Day and my birthday, which is so the day in between, which is today, which is Father's Day, it's becoming more of the guiding principle for what I'm going to do. And it took me long enough to get there. But serving the family, putting them first, that's something that I thought I'd been doing, but it's not always what I've done. I've always made the assumption that that's what's been happening, but then upon further reflection and also just having conversations with my wife and seeing my kids, I realized that that's not necessarily what's happened. And so I'm really happy, grateful, in fact, that the order of these dates appeared as such. World Productivity Day, which was productive in a completely different way, but also showed me that, again, it fell by the wayside, which means that other things are falling by the wayside. And then Father's Day, where I'm like, has this been falling by the wayside? Have I not been as present as I need to be with this? And then realizing that, my 40, my 46th birthday is just coming up, and I, as much as time is a man-made construct, and it's really fluid, and we get to control what we do with it. It is a limited resource. We will all run out of time, and so I want to invest it wisely. So, taking a clarity day is that. Not the first step, but a renewed step, a step back into myself, into the person I want to be, into the better person. And that's it. So what do I want you to take away from this is the idea that dates matter. Due dates don't matter as much as important dates. Dates that make you think, make you step back and look at what's going on and make better decisions around what you're going to do going forward. But ultimately, if you're feeling this way, if anything that I've said resonates with you, then a clarity day may just be what you need. And I'll be talking about that in the next episode, the next Sunday episode, the next solo episode. So thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, and you want to make sure you get each episode, which we publish on Wednesdays and on Sundays every week, make sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. I listen to my podcast on Overcast. I absolutely love it. You can, you subscribe there. Just go to just go to the website and you can subscribe right from the website. Or if you're listening to the podcast player of choice, just do it from there. And if you enjoyed the episode, a rating or review would be helpful as well. This is, again, the solo episodes are still kind of new. The Sunday episodes, sometimes they're, obviously they're just me. Sometimes they're bonus material that I've had from that was not released in the past. And sometimes it will be an interview, depending on how things go. After all, I do have interviews scheduled all the way till November that are already recorded, or October into November. But I may find some that pop up along the way that I want to throw in on a Sunday. So you never know. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I want to thank you for listening and for your support. Take care, and until next time, keep moving things forward. See you later.